What exactly am I looking at?
That is another Halo.
Say what?
Hey everybody, my name's Joe Van, I'm Canadian, and this is a video about a potential Halo sequel.
Oh my god.
I mostly make videos here about monkeys, but I also love the video game franchise Halo and Zelda, and so I also periodically make videos about them. If you like what you see here, make sure to like and subscribe and check out the other vids I got on that, and also check out some Monke vids while you're here. So, regarding Halo and Zelda, obviously my love started with Zelda. I grew up as a kid with Nintendo, but got an Xbox in 2007 and played Halo CE and Halo 2 to great awe and joy. At 15, I got a job solely to buy a 360 and play Halo 3. The love was real. Halo is my Star Wars. But how is it doing?
Yo, what up? It's Editor Joe here, Joe from the future. Gotta make at least a couple addendums here. The thing I recorded, the entire video which you're about to watch, I filmed before 343 became Halo Studios, so you'll have to excuse every time I mention 343. And the second thing I wanted to bring up is, now that they're essentially going to be redoing the series, because ain't no way they're just going to be stopping with the first one. I got a feeling they're going to pull a Call of Duty and have one main, presence that is Halo, and they're going to keep the same multiplayer, but then update it with maps, update it with new features, and release the first game remastered, then the second game, then the third game. So they might just stop with the original trilogy and call it a day, while also making sequels. However, it could be the case that this is their complete takeover of the entire franchise, because as we know, it's not just a name change that happened. The entire leadership changed, and then the name change happened. So Halo Studios is an entirely different sort of flagship for the franchise. And it could be that they want to essentially undo the weird tangled mess that the current Halo storyline is in. And what better way to do that than to start with the original trilogy remakes, but then you make Halo 4 remake and change the story, leading in a different direction, and then make a Halo 5 remake, but it's essentially a completely different beast. So maybe you won't call it Halo 5 remake, you call it something else. But then the Halo 4 is where the sharp actual narrative change happens. And then try and make it make more sense, like maybe keeping the didact alive. Isn't that a fun idea? But either way, I just wanted to kind of spitball that out there. And if that's the case, then the proposal that I set forward in this video, it'll be completely sliced. However, if they do intend on continuing the story that they've created with Halo Infinite in a sequel, that's what this is all about. So, hope you guys enjoy. See ya!
Halo in 2024 is something else. Right now it sits on the last two major entries flubbing their release window, only to finish the game months or years later, but by then being wholly too late for most people. As it stands now, I would say that Halo as a franchise has potential. It should not be in that state, it should just be good. But alas, 343 and Microsoft, its owners, keep shooting themselves in the foot. Very frustrating to watch, as I'm sure the decision makers who keep screwing the pooch don't care about the franchise at all. I can only imagine how the devs feel. But it's not all doom and gloom. There was a glimmer of hope when it was revealed that the top 3 at 343 stepped down. This was the first time it's happened, so time will tell if the new owners of the ship steer Halo in the right direction. It could be great, it could be worse, or it could just be more of the same. That's a 1/3 chance of redemption. There have been worse odds for things. The reason people like me hold on to hope about this is because of the greatness Halo achieved. And it wasn't a fluke. There's a solid Halo formula that just needs to be followed. And you need passionate people following them, but that's essentially it. Implement it right, and you're almost guaranteed success. In this video, I'm going to go over aspects that surround the Halo games and give my spin on what could lead to a respectful and exciting new Halo title, after the rumored Halo remake, of course. So let's waste no further time, and let's enter the domain. Halo Infinite was Halo's first adventure into the open world, so unlike my video on Zelda, I think Halo could actually turn back from this design philosophy and root itself back into its origins, an open but ultimately linear level experience. The first Halo game did it to great success. Then it came back, in my mind, with ODST, then Reach, and that was it. 343 went full linear with 4 and 5, and then swung that pendulum way over in the other direction. Infinite's math philosophy was still more restricted than, say, Breath of the Wild's, but without good reason. You would just hit an invisible barrier and stop and fall to your death. There didn't have to be an in-game reason, but it would have been better to have one, like maybe banish Dreadnought, pushing Fragment Islands together to get the Reformation going, something like that. So, with the intention of the older games like Reach and Halo CE, multi-approach but ultimately a linear level experience would be the best path going into the next game. Leading up to Halo Infinite, people online were speculating that the game might start on Reach as a nice callback, but also to tie into the story element of getting a new Cortana. I would have at least liked it if there were multiple biomes, like everyone else. Regarding a new entry, it would be great, albeit ambitious, if 343 tried to pull a Halo 2 and have the levels go all over the place, from Zeta Halo to the Ark to Reach to Earth. Get more with less by removing the open single world element, but keep the inspired multipath approach. This is a hard one, because the tone of the best Halos, 1, 2, and 3, were that of the underdog humanity fighting to end the greatest existential threat on 3 fronts: the Covenant, the Flood, and the Halos. Everything was trying to kill us, and we were barely keeping our heads above water. The exclusion of the Flood in 343's entries are felt most direly. An entire third of the franchise's identity is being ignored. How dare you! You can change the Halo threat levels, change the alien factions, add machines, though it was not a good move in my opinion, but no horror? What are we doing here? It doesn't work. I didn't feel it that much in ODST because it felt like a short film of a game in all the best ways, but I definitely felt it in Reach, and I've been feeling it ever since. The Flood is a threat that, like real life, is a truly scary one at a distance, up close, and in the mere idea of its inevitability. How do you stop a virus? You can quell it, but 100% wipe it from existence? You can never be sure. Under a rock, somewhere, it is waiting to re-emerge. Life, or in this case, death, finds a way. To think we can stop it, like a normal enemy, is childish. Side note here, that always bugged me, but our current definition of life as any system capable of performing functions such as eating, metabolizing, excreting, breathing, moving, growing, reproducing, and responding to external stimuli excludes viruses. In today's science, we don't consider viruses alive. Viruses cannot do some of these things listed above, and thus they are the universe's only real zombies. Before moving to the next point, it is also worth reminding people that in the Halo lore, since Halo 2, all the other aliens know where Earth is now, and that hasn't really come up in the game since Halo 3. The UNSC kept it a secret throughout all of the Human Covenant War up until the end. In the Halo Infinite's first multiplayer trailer, it shows a banished occupation of London, but it doesn't expand on that. We're going to move on, but we'll come back to this point later. Splinter Covenant groups: Swords of Sanghelios, the Banished, the UNSC, Insurrectionists, Sentinels, the Flood, Skimmers, the Created, Prometheans, and Jackal Pirates. These are a bunch of factions that exist in Halo. A lot to work with. Tragically, the best enemy army was the Covenant, from a gameplay variety perspective, from the lore perspective, and just from a logical perspective. Nothing in this universe can beat that. You could do a new alien army that comes from like another galaxy to wage war on humans, the Covenant, and everyone in between, but that's just a copy-paste of the Covenant. To think about human empires to draw inspiration, you could see the Covenant as being the Roman or Persian Empire. They grew an army off of the defeated nations they just put under their boot. The Banished could be like a splinter nation after the Roman Empire ended, such as the Ottomans. The only problem here is time. Halo Infinite sees the Banished after maybe 30 years of their existence. Then you came in and destroyed their entire leadership, except for Atriox himself. It didn't help boost their threat level while playing. What would help in a future title is if we don't get so close to their leadership. Difference between the Covenant Council in Halo 2 versus a bunch of goons scheming and beating each other up, it's embarrassing. And having the Banished seem larger than they did in Infinite would help too. They could strategically occupy Earth knowing it's the humans' home and do a better job than the Covenant. The Brutes could be even more evil than the Covenant was genocidal. Have them be brutal, hence the name Brutes, but also have them employ jackal scientists to perform torture experiments on humans, or something to gain access to Forerunner artifacts. In war, you always pay a price. Not like Miranda Keyes, though, that was extremely avoidable. Just stay in the Pelican. Sergeant Johnson's death, however, it sucked, but it was probable. Same with Cortana in Halo 4. Someone else mentioned this, I forget if it was Installation 00, but Infinite should definitely have seen you alongside Blue Team on the Infinity while it was being boarded by the Banished at the beginning. And then you watch as so many lives are lost before you explore the ring alone. If we had even the smallest idea of the impact the Created had on humanity other than just like hologram cliff notes from Cortana's ghost, that would have been preferred. I said it in my first video about Halo, but I do feel like the Master Chief needs to die or retire or something.
What the fuck?!
I know he's not really 60 or whatever because of cryosleep, but I hold my stance. Have the next game be his last. That is how you show Price. 343 was scared to drop Cortana after they literally did, and it was an awful move that they doubled back on anyway. It sucks to see your favorite heroes go, but if done right, it is the best move. This topic is simple. Bring back the classics, even if just for campaign. The reduction they did with Halo Infinite was dumb, in my opinion. Not much else to say here, and I think everyone would agree, even the pro players. If it's just in campaign, it doesn't affect them, but greatly affects us campaign lovers. The carbine, plasma rifle, and fuel rod gun, brute shot, dual-wielding SMGs, come on guys! These were goated and gotta come back. Okay, so here is a loose idea for how the next Halo installment could go. I'll use the same idea as Infinite with both grand and intimate moments throughout, and carry the philosophy of using new and old story elements in a way that hopefully better evokes Halo. Let's begin. Level 1. Have the first level be almost like a prologue before the real story. Situation's this. Master Chief and, quote, Joy, and the other pilot hear something over the comms before making contact with the UNSC as one of the frigates exits slipspace. The trio engage in a grand escape from Zeta Halo, using a banished ship before meeting the frigate. The level can start on the ground of Halo, before making to the sky, then space. You can hijack one of their ships and banished AI before fleeing. The level ends with the banished successfully holding territory over Halo as you leave. However, it is humanity's #1 priority to claim it for decommission for the sake of our own survival. Level 2, the real campaign start. We reunite with Blue Team, Halsey, and Captain Lasky in a moment of remembrance for those lost in the Infinity. Halsey begins to explain a receiver signal she and Joy were able to get from the banished AI before things pick up when alerts go off of ships exiting slipspace over Earth. The banished have come to hold occupation over the Ark portal. You fight and hold them back over the glassed ruins of New Mombasa, like Halo 2, and even take out a scarab before ending the level. You're outnumbered though and are forced to retreat the region, now taken by the Brutes. Level 3. In orbit, you meet back with Halsey, who has made advancements in communication with an extra-dimensional being, but the signal is weak. Admiral Hood questions the legitimacy, but she insists it knows things it shouldn't, like how many fingers she held up. Chief listened as she recited, 2, 5, 1, then none. She asks the Chief specifically to take on a mission, and Hood accepts. The mission is covert, with Joy on the moon to boot up a Forerunner signal receiver from the Didact's destroyed ship. But the Banished are there too, scavenging. They inevitably discover you, and you have to steal a Banshee to flee while also dismantling their ship's drives so they can't chase you. Mid-level cutscene starts with Halsey's communication getting better, only for the distorted voice to warn of the endless and to seek, it gets scratchy, to stop them. The line cuts out. Then, the Arbiter, of all people, calls. His planet is being taken over by something new, the Endless. They know his warriors' every move and are able to take out their capital, forcing them to flee into space. You change course to meet the Arbiter as his team exits slip space, but gets assaulted by more of the Banished. You have a space battle leading to a battle in the Shadow of Intent. You enter as Banished do, and help the Arbiter fight them, finishing the battle with fighting your first Endless. It's difficult, but your luck doesn't wear out. Okay, so side note here, but a question of what the Endless are is kind of silly, in my opinion. It was a bad move to introduce a new alien race by saying that they were worse than the Flood, and then not showing them. It could be that the Harbinger was one of the Endless species, but her design is uninspired, making the whole thing even worse. And so what now? The new game will have you face as many Endless as Elites? But they also have boss-level abilities, like teleporting, just like Prometheans? That's not a good game design. And that's not new, being the Halo 4 main enemy, it's just a reskin. I feel like the Endless should be like Xenomorphs, but also like the Mimics from the movie Edge of Tomorrow. Give them a really good predictive AI to tap into the fact that they can manipulate time, and thus see what you're about to do before you do it, but also have them ultimately be a bit weaker than Brutes and Elites. It could be something where you fight them with like long-range weapons, they'll close in. If you rush them, they'll learn after a few kills and keep their distance. As far as them being worse than the Flood, only thing I can think of is that they replicate if not killed quickly, and they don't really die, they just get stunned when you shoot them. So they don't like come back to life once they're stunned, but just from a lore perspective, they're not really killed, they're just like slowly healing like Wolverine. Obviously, I'm not a pro enemy designer for video games, and I said before that the Covenant were the best gameplay design, but since the Endless were introduced, we gotta do something with them. But I digress. Level 4. Next level has you focus forces back on Zeta Halo, the Banished's new home base alongside the Ark. Lasky's new frigate, Winter's Bite, hides in a comet field outside of slip space. You, Joy, Blue Team, and the Arbiter take ODST pods to the surface as Halsey reconnects with the Voice. It tells her to enter the Palace of Pain before scratching out and ultimately breaking up. Your team redirects their trajectory, but Blue Team gets separated. You land with the Arbiter in a dense jungle on a cliff edge, and work through a jackal encampment full of skirmishers, grunts, and hunters. After dispatching them, you find a warthog among their treasures and drive off the cliff into a war zone on desert plains below. The level ends with Blue Team intact and at the Palace of Pain, but you and RB are miles away with it on the horizon. Level 5. Next level has you, Joy, and the Arbiter discuss the nature of the Endless as you enter the Palace of Pain. It sits hovering at misty shores, ominous and luring. Dead Banished surround the entrance, similar to Halo CE's Guilty Spark. You dispatch grunts and jackals and attempt to make contact with Blue Team, but they do not respond. Once you're deeper into the tower, Lasky sends distress calls over comms as their ship is getting boarded by the Endless. Halsey interrupts the call to inform Master Chief that the Voice came back, telling her they need to find a latchkey found in the room with no walls. The tower naturally leads you further up until you find a room with an optical illusion, making it appear as if you're in space. A cutscene plays of Joy directing the team to a device emanating a powerful pulse. The Arbiter almost touches it, but Master Chief insists that he does. Clasping the device, looking similar to the Index, it triggers a failsafe that imprisons you. Atriox's voice comes over the room, laughing, and asks if Master Chief wants the same fate as his pathetic friends. The fight is over, he says, before the floor gives out. The Arbiter jumps towards the door and pinches his fingers around the door's rim to hold on while the Master Chief falls deep down below. Level 6. The floor comes back, and then we play as the Arbiter again for the first time since Halo 2, unless you were Player 2 in Halo 3. You escape from the Palace of Pain while the Endless are set upon you. Then halfway down, you get redirected from overwhelming forces. This new path puts you in labs where you can see the Flood are being kept in stasis. There, you come across humans caged by the Banish, and you wipe out the guards. A cutscene plays of you freeing the Marines and a Spartan 3 who was on the Infinity when it crashed into Halo. The Spartan 3, Aaron, tells the Arbiter that Atriox himself has been visiting them and hand-picking the prisoners one by one, never to be seen again. Aaron says that there used to be 40 of them, but now there are only 12. You tell them that this is not their grave if they fight. The team gears up and you make a break together through vertical shafts similar to Halo 2's Sacred Icon level. There can be an option for you to save all of the Marines, but the point of the level will be one of attrition. Certain rooms you fall through will have overwhelming enemies, leading you to continue dropping until you make it back to the surface of Halo. Level 7. Winter's Bite reconnects with the Arbiter, having survived a wave of the Endless, but needing to leave as their position has been compromised. They draft options to extract Blue Team from the Palace of Pain, while you, the Arbiter, mount a defense. 3 waves of enemies hit you at the shore before Halsey enters comms to tell you that the voice informed her of a cave system nearby that houses Forerunner artillery. You and Aaron enter the cave, that is not a natural formation, and find a Forerunner tank. With it, your team pushes forward upland to a banished fort, where they are running operations from the Palace of Pain experiments. After taking down a scarab, you enter the fort and eliminate all enemies inside. The level ends with a Jackal scientist calling for Red retreat over comms. Aaron goes in to kill the Jackal, but you stop him and interrogate the Jackal, who laughs, telling your team that Halo is going bye-bye. Atriox's voice bellows from the speakers, announcing the Halo is about to teleport, and all hands should hold tight. Level 8. It starts with debris lifting off the ground as it shakes. A pelican flies in from Winter's Bite to pick you up, but it gets hit from debris and crashes. A warthog it was carrying dislodges and lands before your team, and you use it to drive off. The whole environment crumbles around you as you aim to drive into the frigate that has now begun to enter the atmosphere. You drive back to the Palace of Pain, but as you do, it's hovering off to a new location. After dodging obstacles, you drive into the cargo bay of Winter's Bite, and the frigate takes off. From a distance, you watch as something strange happens to Zeta Halo. The debris that seemed random up close now seems to be resetting itself from before the explosion Cortana set off. All the bits fit back together, including that fallen Guardian we see in the background from Infinite, until the Halo is whole. Then a slip space portal opens and it leaves. Halsey asks if Lasky is going to follow them, but he says no, because he already knows where they're going. Winter's Bite then punches it back to Earth. Level 9. Here you play as the Master Chief again. You recover your senses and group up with Blue Team. The room you're in is dark and misty. Joy begins to explain that the key they received is unlike anything she's ever seen, but Atriox laughs over the speaker, cutting her off, before a door opens and you hear the old familiar whine of a combat flood form. Joy asks if that's what she thinks it is. Blue Team confirms with Chief, and you nod, being the only one who has faced them before. The level has your team go room through room, wave through wave, of not just the Flood, but also the Endless, who are not affected by the Flood, just fighting alongside them. Joy says that she's going to activate the key from your suit. Time skips forward 10 seconds, then she explains that you're now seeing things ahead of the curve of time, and if you get hurt, you can jump back to play things out differently. With this new ability, similar to like the Prince of Persia games, you can use this key with a 10-second recharge if you get taken out. The level ends with your team almost getting out before a lockdown shuts all the doors and the gravity lightens. Then the whole palace moves, tossing your team hard against a wall. Level 10. Winter's Bite enters Earth's orbit again, and Hood gets filled in on what happened, before he fills you in on what's been happening so far on Earth. All banished forces and the Endless have been barraging Earth with everything they have. Most of Earth is now occupied by the Endless and ruled by the banished. The UNSC is holding hidden bases in Africa, which is where Winter's Bite lands. Hood, the Arbiter, Lasky, Halsey, and others review the battle for Earth thus far, and the extra-dimensional voices' messages, putting together a narrative that the brutes are genetically related to humans, and that the Earth is the homeworld of them too, before the human Forerunner War 100,000 years ago. With no world now thanks to Cortana, a human-made AI, they are putting everything they have into dominating Earth. Halsey reminds people that there are 2 fronts right now, Earth and the Ark. The Banished are stronger here now unless something changed at the Ark, but the Ark is the most important strategic place in the known universe, and now Zeta Halo is there too. Earth is just a place, Halsey says, with the Arbiter agreeing, but most others respond to her statement with resentment. Halsey finishes with saying that humanity's home is where humanity is, and that is worth fighting for, not a place. The Arbiter volunteers his troops to help fight on Earth, but also noting that Halsey's right, if they take the Ark, the Banished would have to back this occupation down. Hood agrees, and makes the plans to send Winter's Bite through the Ark portal, along with several other ships. Gameplay begins with you and other elites, grunts, and hunters flying a Phantom toward a banished anti-air gun. You work to take them out, very similar to the Storm level in Halo 3, leading to another Scarab attack that leads to another, then another, before you take out another AA gun. The level finishes with you seeing Winter's Bite take off through the Arc portal. Level 11. Joy recovers data inside the Palace of Pain while Blue Team is under lockdown, before noting that they just entered slipspace. Master Chief asks what she's found, and she tells them what this place was used for, and is now being used for again by the Banished. She tells them what Atriox has done to the human captors, intentionally infecting them to record how the Flood mutates their DNA. In the findings from Atriox, they discovered that the Endless, and humans, and brutes, and Forerunners are all delineated from the same common ancestor. Fred is about to ask if Joy can override the doors, but she answers before he can get it out, saying the main doors will now open. Awaiting for them is a steep drop from above the clouds of Halo. And not just that, a newly rebuilt Guardian is directly in front of them, facing them. Chief tells Blue Team to jump, and they leap at the machine's face. This level has you enter the Guardian's body, which is full of sentinels that see your team as a threat, similar to the end of Halo Infinite. You work down its interior structure as comms open up from Lasky again. He tells Chief that it's good to hear his voice, and asks if he's got the item. You answer yes before he can finish his sentence. Halsey gives you coordinates to rendezvous. You find a set of Phaetons near the tail of the Guardian, and the Blue Team all take one to fly out towards Halo's surface, in an on-the-rails atmospheric re-entry sequence. As you dodge debris and shoot enemies, you see the Ark in the background, and all the human ships exiting slipspace and immediately engaging with banished ships. The Spirit of Fire asks what took so long to Winter's Bite. The level ends with your team jumping out of the Phaetons as they crash into another banished base on the snowy mountain peak, and your team slows their descent before landing beside the wreckage to finish off the remaining forces. Chief asks Winter's Bite for reals, ending the level. Level 12. Fred and Linda are taken to do another mission on the Ark, and you're teamed up with Aaron the Spartan 3 and ODSTs to spearhead an assault on the Citadel from Halo 3. The level starts with your team breaking through the tundra plains before the main construct, though the forces there are notably weaker for what should be a highly guarded area. You enter where you once were aided by the Flood to find it empty. Taking the elevator up the corridor, you find it packed with explosives that detonate. You go back in time 10 seconds, but your team is already aboard the elevator, so you prepare them to leap back once arriving. Your team leap down that small shaft behind the elevator as the bombs are detonated. Gameplay starts as you land at the bottom of the cliff. The Flood are waiting for you, while Joy redirects your team to an interior section of the Ark where you can call for extraction. As you fight, the Spirit of Fire answers your call and sends a Pelican. Your team board as Endless arrive, and you take the back turret, providing cover from Banished and Phantoms, finishing with you using a target designator on the valley and the Spirit of Fire raining hell. The pilot gets a call to support his team, so he drops you off in a desert outpost near Winter's Bite that is under attack. You enter the fight and are presented with either a Gosshog or a Scorpion tank. A Scarab lands from above, and once you take it out, the Banished start glassing. Mongooses arrive with reinforcements, and you take one to escape the blast. Lucky Level 13. The final level has you reconnect with Blue Team during planning with Lasky as countless more banished forces come through slipspace. The Shadow of Intent flies through as well, but heavily damaged. The Endless are crawling all over the ship in the tens of thousands. Drop pods release before it explodes above atmosphere. Lasky reaches out on comms to the Arbiter but gets nothing back. Halsey looks to the Chief in brief condolences. Chief asks if we're able to stop the Banished with the latchkey. Joy begins to explain its elements, but Halsey cuts her off to tell Master Chief of what the Voice has described. She says we stop the Endless by charging the key in Zeta Halo's control room, but the act of doing so will trap whoever delivers it there. Master Chief understands and is willing to give the ultimate sacrifice for humanity. Aaron interjects, saying that he should already be dead, and he thinks it was divine providence that the Arbiter saved him. Halsey clarifies that he would need an AI to activate the key. Master Chief tells Aaron that they will go together with Joy. Joy confirms her consent with a nod, saying that this is what she was built to do. The level starts with you and Aaron dropped off near the control room. It's heavily defended and near where the Shadow of Intent crashed. The pilot leaves and you make your way down a mountain towards the crashed ship and control room. There's a war encampment surrounding the control room. Aaron wonders how they'll get through it. Then something stirs in the trees, and elites pounce down to strike but hold at the sight of you. The Arbiter reveals himself and is grateful to see you again. You team up with the elites and take a trail through a crevasse where the Flood are roaming. A scout jackal finds your team as you fight the Flood and calls reinforcements, who get dropped into the crevasse but then have to contend with the Flood down there. The Arbiter wonders why the Flood would attack them when they seem content not to do so already, and Joy pontificates that there must be some brokerage between the Banished and the Endless, a species that seem to be an in-between of the Flood and normal life, like a controlled version of the Flood. Your team clear through and enter an underground Forerunner tunnel. Sentinels, Banished, and the Endless wait for your team. Once cleared, you make your way up to the inside of the control room. You clear the Banished and Endless in there and begin the process of planting the key in the system. The camp outside ring the alarm bells, and air units begin barraging the room from above. You take a Banshee nearby with the Arbiter and fight outside as forces draw near. You hear over comms that Aaron got shot, so you return to the room to aid Joy in finishing the mission. She says it's done, and we can still try to get out alive. You extract her and the key and grab a warthog laying by the door and make for a daring escape while the Halo implodes. The Banished and Endless flee and attack as you drive with the Arbiter on Gunner. Winter's Bite is escaping, but Lasky abandons his post to jump in a Pelican and try and pick you up. You drive as the land crumbles and he flies overhead to try to latch the top of the Warthog. The level ends with him succeeding, but a blast hits you out of your seat. You fall back to the surface. Lasky says he's coming back, but you tell him there's no time and to return to Earth. You prepare for death, but an AI, Mendicant Bias, comes to shield you. From Winter's Bite's POV, the Arbiter and Lasky board right before entering slipspace. They see in their final second Zeta Halo sucking in all of the Endless before disappearing into a single point. Epilogue. War rages on Earth. Lord Hood, the Arbiter, Lasky, Halsey, Cutter, and other admirals discuss plans over a holodeck. The Banished are still powerful, but now the Endless are gone. A dumb AI declares the Banished outnumbering them 3-1. The Arbiter echoes Halfjaw's line, saying then it is an even fight. Grunt and elite reinforcements exit slipspace to aid the humans on Earth, and we fade to black. Then we hear a familiar voice. Master Chief asks Joy if he is still alive. There is no light. Joy tells Chief to ask him. Mendicant Bias's voice answers that he is no longer in reality as he knows it. He goes on to say that he is imprisoned by that move, using the time key to send everything that came from the ring back to the key's origin. Joy pipes in to say that's what they did, overcharge the key to break a loop they never even knew it was holding. Zeta Halo comes back from being between space, and Master Chief finds himself in front of Mendicant Bias again. Above the ring's surface, Forerunner ships fly. Mendicant Bias reminds Master Chief that he has messages to record for Catherine Halsey. Chief looks at the three eyes of Mendicant Bias in understanding, then looks to the horizon. The end. So what do you guys think? Please, let me know what you think of this story. I did my best to incorporate elements they introduced in Halo Infinite to find the best workaround, but there could very well be better ones. So let me know. I hope you enjoyed hearing this little hypothetical sequel. It leaves the door open for more sequels and spin-off games and everything in between. A game with the Chief in the Forerunner Flood War era, an Arbiter sequel where he takes out Atriox, the door is open. Whatever real sequel we have coming, I'm not worried. We'll see when we eventually get a trailer, but as it stands now, I'm hopeful it'll be great, as Halo has only ever really had one flop story-wise in my opinion, Halo 5. Halo Reach left some to be desired for me personally, and Halo 4 went downhill when the Didact began speaking, but all in all, I'd say Halo campaigns have a good track record. So again, let me know what you guys think. What do you want to see in a Halo sequel, and how do you think they should handle it? As always, I appreciate you guys to no end. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Brute-esque Monke vids and Halo ones in the future. And until next time,
wake me when you need me.